Hi, Rachel. Thank you for your letter and essay, and sorry for the great delay. We have finally got to your writing. Okay, let's have a look at your letter first. Dear Sir, Madam, great. My name is Rachel Isabel da Silva Santos, student ID this, and I'm writing regarding case number, and I would go either with the full word number or with the abbreviation NR, not number like this, not in English. Okay. Uh, and regarding case number, and I would say regarding case number about my, let's say, absence from the physics exam on date and month, okay? First of all, I would like you to accept my apologies for my absence at the aptitude exam taken for the physical education course carried out on Monday on the previous week. I was with conjunctivitis, a contagious disease that should avoid contact with people. Okay, you're explaining why you are absent. This is very nice, but you would have to use different structures to sound much more formal and factual, because this is a bit personal and many of these expressions would be inappropriate to be used in a letter to faculty. So I wouldn't go with first of all. I would just remove first of all. Please don't say, I would like you to accept. It's like you're forcing people to accept your apologies. No, that won't work. So perhaps you could say, I would like to present my apologies for the absence of the aptitude examination taken for the physical education course that was held on Monday, not carried out. That was held on Monday of the previous week. Monday of the previous week, just include the exact date. An exact date is much more correct here. I was absent because I had conjunctivitis, a contagious disease, which implies that I had to avoid contact with any people. Okay, in order to undertake proper, without an article, treatment and obtain a medical certificate, I went to the clinic with my mother. There, the doctor, or the physician, a more appropriate word, gave me the medicine prescription, the certificate, and recommended rest. As soon as I left the clinic, I started treatment and kept away from others. I wouldn't use the word others. I would say from everyone, including my mother, who lives in another suburb, and who ended up? Your mother? Full stop. But unfortunately, I forgot that I left my medical certificate with her and that I had to submit it as evidence and justification to the faculty. Okay, this is more or less acceptable. Yes, this is a very clear, detailed explanation, but make sure that you rephrase this last part. Looking for taking the second call for this exam, I would like to submit the documentation that proves I was not able to be present at the first call and apply for the second one at Albion University. Well, I don't think you need to mention the university. Perhaps you could mention the department or faculty. Okay. Okay. I would rather suggest that you add here repeated apologies and asking for permission. Again, I would kindly like to ask permission to take the second call for this exam and submit documentation that proves, and so on and so forth, and no phrasal verbs in formal texts ever. And yes, we better replace the university with the name of the department, perhaps physical education and special training, or let's say, and medical, whatever training department. I am hopeful that the examination committee will consider these points, not take into consideration, this is way too informal, before reaching their decision. Yours faithfully, Rachel Sanders. Yes. Great task achievement. You are answering everything absolutely correctly, but remember, you have to preserve the correct style and tone. And as you're writing to faculty, you're writing to the academic staff, to an examination committee, you really have to be very serious, very formal, use a lot of passive whenever required and appropriate, and be very and avoid any kind of emotion. Just present facts and kind apologies and ask politely for permission. So this is nice. Let's have a look now at your essay about the Olympics. Okay, experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated whether the Olympics still has considerable significance nowadays. Okay, some believe that this multi-sports event lost its importance in the 21st century, a trend that I personally strongly disagree. What? This essay will argue 2 points of view using examples to demonstrate and prove arguments. Okay. Very nice introduction. I really like the way you put it in 2 sentences, then you add your stance. However, I would suggest a couple of things. Okay, the first sentence is nice. Some believe that this multi-sports event sounds a bit weird. I mean, I'm not sure I've ever heard that. You can say this sporting event or this sporting competition, and prepare to come with a lot of synonyms for the concept of Olympics or Olympic Games. You can say sporting competition, major sporting event, and so on and so forth. What do you mean by strand? A strand means, well, yeah, your language is set for Portuguese, so it's not going to work. A strand, like a strand of hair, means a small part or group of elements. But you probably mean a trend that I personally strongly disagree with. You really need the preposition. Thus, this essay will argue 2 points of view. What do you mean? Are you going to argue for both sides? This is a bit weird because you can't really say. You can say this essay will argue that the Olympic Games are still important now at present because, and your most important argument, sorry, because it serves as a great example for millions of youth who strive to be athletes. And yeah, somehow you can incorporate this as well. But remember, it is best if you indicate your main argument in the introduction. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that the Olympics spotlights the city where it is held. Okay. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, the tourism figures increase significantly during and after the sports competition, I would say. And secondly, these tournaments, which tournament? I would say this tournament, and tournament being a synonym for the Olympics, bring on a cultural diversity passage hardly seen in another event. Okay. I would advise against phrasal verbs, but this one looks fine here. I'm not sure why you mean passage. Why do you use passage here? You can say they bring on a cultural diversity hardly seen or encountered in another event. For example, recent empirical research by the Brazilian government demonstrated that tourism increased by 35% in Rio de Janeiro. When and how? After which event? So you really need context here. When, how, after what? Because you're trying to explain. Furthermore, it must not be forgotten that the most impressive statistic was about the growth, let's say, refers or is registered in terms of growth of the number of tourists from countries very distant from Brazil, such as Japan, Australia, and Russia. Okay, growth or influx, you could say. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that the Olympics provokes a great I would say insights. I really like the word insights because it collocates perfectly with the word interest, and it serves perfectly your purpose from different nations and cultures. Yes, great concluding sentence, great paragraph, but mind the corrections that I mentioned. You have very good ideas. You're using the C2 template to advantage. Awesome. On another hand, although there is a case for competitions, tournaments, or even another spread sporting event favoring the society, I don't understand this part. The impact of the exorbitant costs associated with the Olympics cannot be overlooked. Okay. Do you mean that although competitions, various sporting competitions, tournaments, this is seriously unnecessary? Like even if this might be okay, which means, as I said, we do understand why there are sporting competitions and tournaments, but this is totally unnecessary. Favoring the society, that's a weird way to say that. You can say favorable for the economy of a country and the cultural, let's say, situation there, but not the way it is here. This needs to be rewritten. Um, okay, the impact, this is great and great vocabulary used. This is mostly because of the overspending involved in this particularly spelling, particularly like this happening, and the abandon of the venues after it. Wait a second. Do you mean by happening? Do you mean that this is a noun? Then you need in this particular, let's say, event, or I would say event rather than happening, and the abandonment, not abandon, the abandonment of the venues after it is over, something like this. I know what you mean. For instance, if the real cost of the Olympics in 2016 were the estimated one, Rio de Janeiro would not have ended up with a loss of billions of dollars. Okay, or of $1 billion. So you have to be precise about the money, and end up perhaps replaced with a synonym, which is not a phrasal verb. Consistent with this line of thinking is that not only is there a failure in the money management, because if you start with not only, you have to use inversion. That's a special trick for emphasis, and that's the rule. But also in the planning for the constructions of facilities and infrastructure that are falling due to decay, since they have not been used or received a proper maintenance. Okay, fix the grammar, and this will be a great paragraph. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt that the sports event can bring some serious drawbacks for the host city of the games. Okay, great paragraph, great use of the patterns, but you really have to take care of the way you use language, and this sentence is very confusing. Fix the rest as I have indicated, but I really like the way you use your thought is very clear. Your supporting ideas are very well formulated, and the examples that you use are great. So yes, language fixing, like minor language polishing, and the quality of your writing will increase, trust me. From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that the Olympic Games bring a lot of advantages because it puts the host city on the map despite the promises. I'm not sure what you mean here. I understand what you mean there, but I'm not sure I understand this part. You mean the promises made when the city authorities said that this and that will happen and our city is going to become wow, super awesome after the Olympics? I'm not sure. Just predict that the sporting event will increasingly grow in importance in the following years. Based on what in your essay this could be predicted? If you can point to that part in your essay, then leave the sentence there. If not, I would challenge this, or at least say it could be predicted. Then you are making this a bit more tentative, and even though you don't bring direct evidence towards why it will become increasingly important in the future, but at least you're being hypothetical. So you have Very nice writing. You have a very good understanding of the topic. You always answer to the point. You always use a good vocabulary to, let's say, dress your answer in words, but make sure that your accuracy in both vocabulary and grammar does not suffer. Okay. Also, some minor sentence structure, as I have mentioned. Make an error list after everything I have said and try rewriting this, and you will see the final product. And I'm really hopeful that you will improve based on my feedback. Thank you, and all the best for you in your exam.